So I just got back from the Sim Racing Expo in Dortmund, and to be honest, it was awesome. I got to meet so many of you guys there. Everyone was super nice and super lovely. I even got to see my face plastered on a poster, which was slightly horrific. But this video isn't about that in particular. It's about a sim that became playable for the first time at the Sim Racing Expo, and that was AC Rally. Now, when I first heard about the announcement of the game, I had the same question probably as all you guys. Where AC Evo? Where is? But it turns out Assetto Corsa have been very sneaky, because this game is developed by an entirely different studio alongside Assetto Corsa Evo. Don't think of it as one team stretched over two projects, it's two teams and two projects. But it seems like they've been keeping this AC Rally a secret for a little while. I'll get onto that in a second. So before I start, unfortunately I don't have any direct footage of myself playing Assetto Corsa. But I do have a ton of B-roll that was provided for me and my experience to talk about, so hopefully I can give you guys a good impression of what to expect from this upcoming title from the guys at AC. Let's talk first impressions. So one of the first things I want to say about this is this game seems a bit further along than I sort of expected it to be when I first heard it was going to be at the Sim Expo. It's not just like a random tech demo which you start from an EXE and it boots up. It already looks like a game. All the pit menus and stuff look good. You can change individual tires, by the way. That was something that Raggy wanted to show me very much when we were playing. I don't know why, but you can do that. You can change individual tires. And what I'm saying is all that functionality is ready in the title. So it's looking like it's already quite far along, which was a bit of a surprise because it came out of nowhere. It really did. It's really interesting because Assetto Corsa Rally sort of appeared in the same way that Dirt Rally did back in, well, when was it now? 2016, 2017? Before that, I don't remember when it randomly appeared. 2014? Editor, correct my incoherent mumbling. But that game came out of nowhere in early access, and it was exactly what rally fans have been looking for. A bit more gritty, more visceral rally game. And AC Rally definitely follows in those footsteps. Right now, there are only two different locations that are available. I believe it's Wales and let's say like French Tarmac stages. I think they're French, and they've both gone sort of for that more realistic look. See, I can really see myself like going through the forest in this and cutting through all the dirt and the tarmac. It's a lot of fun. You know, what's really interesting about the idea of AC Rally is that basically in the original Assetto Corsa, a lot of people have just made the rally mode. So to see AC Rally actually appear, it's kind of cool timing, and I do wonder if any of those guys who worked on mods and stages for the original Assetto Corsa were just like, hey you. And I guess we'll talk about the driving first, because that's what people are going to care about, and that's what I care about as someone who is a long-term rally fan. I'm going to do a nice little scale here. Jack, I'm sorry, this is more work for you. Rest in peace. So on one end of the scale, right here, we're going to pop EAWRC. I've always liked EAWRC. I enjoy how it drives. I don't think it's realistic really, but it's fun. On the other end of the scale, we have the GOAT, we have the King, we have Richard Burns Rally. A 20-odd-year-old title that has remained undefeated in the rally sphere ever since it came out. This game sits like here. It is definitely more towards the more hardcore driving style. But in the demo, there are a few different cars to choose from, and I had a chance to drive each one. My personal favourite was Fiat 131 Bath, the rear-wheel drive Revy 70s style rally car. Really very fun to drive. And the reason why I enjoyed it is because it's done something that finally all rally sims seem to have struggled with, to replicate a good rear-wheel drive model. That you have to really be on top of that thing. You can steer the car with the pedals as you're kind of meant to in rallying, and on those long sweeping corners you can keep the car in constant oversteer on a loose surface and just play the throttle to keep it moving around. It's so satisfying. I really enjoyed it. I also tried the Hyundai i20 and the Zara on the tarmac as well, and those cars felt good, but they also felt like they maybe shared almost some of that front-wheel drive characteristic of when you lift, the car goes into the corner really quickly. I don't know if it's just because this game is early, or maybe that's how the cars drive in real life, but it made the car quite nervous, especially in the high-speed stuff. Almost as if it wanted to go into like a slide or something, where, again, I think like these cars, Rally 2 cars don't have mega aero or anything like that at all, but they seem pretty planted when going through these tarmac stages. So whether that's realistic or not, I can't really tell you. but it was a little quirk that I found. Otherwise, the way it slowed down, the way it braked into the corner, the way it went around the hairpin, stuff like that, the car felt really positive. But just in the high speed, it felt quite twitchy. Interestingly, on the loose surface, I'd say a lot of feedback I've heard from people, it's too slippy. Cars move too much. Now, I've actually had an experience of riding along in a Rally 2 car, so I have an idea, kind of what it should feel like, how much grip they have, and rally cars have more grip than you think on a dry surface on the right tyre. I will say, however, you do have to brake a lot earlier than you think, and I think a lot of people, maybe given that feedback, are expecting just to mash the brake pedal, have the car sort itself out. Like, no, you have to really be on top of these things when you drive them. That being said, there were a couple of scenarios where maybe like I was coming out of a hairpin or going into a hairpin slowly and using the throttle to try and pull myself back out again. The car would just sort of like accelerate laterally in the direction I'm going. So maybe that's just because I'm on that loose surface and something weird is happening there, but I honestly don't know enough about the realism of that to tell you whether that is how it should be. But otherwise, the game felt pretty natural. But let's move over to Tarmac, because there were Tarmac stages available for us to try when we were there. And this is the thing that I've always wanted to be good in a sim. It was okay in the WRC games. It was pretty bad in the EA title and the Codemasters titles. And in Richard Burns Rally, it's inconsistent, I think would be fair to say. Cars just don't quite feel right, in my opinion, anyway. And in my opinion, AC Rally does the Tarmac stuff better than anything we've seen before. So I drove a couple of cars on Tarmac, including the little 208 Rally 4 car. I thought it would be really cool to drive a front-wheel drive little Peugeot on Tarmac. The car drove like a quite aggressively set up front-wheel drive car. Going in this with the throttle, the car would pitch into the corner. You could then control it by getting back on the gas. You really had this feeling that you had two modes of steering in this car. Again, the pedals and the wheel. And I know that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but I sometimes feel in racing games that like maybe the developers don't understand that the throttle and brake aren't just to accelerate and slow the car, they're also to steer the car. And this really feels like it's all connected in one beautiful tapestry of rally goodness. 208, which we have no B-roll footage of apparently, also had no ABS as part of the Challenger driving thing. But it's almost impossible to slow the car down. The car would lock very, very quickly when trying to slow the car down for a corner. Again, I kind of feel like it wouldn't quite be as tough as that in real life. But again, I lack the actual real life experience to tell you that or not. Whenever I've watched onboards of Tarmac Eyes, the car looks hooked up, looks like you can throw it around. This felt like you're almost braking like gravel level of grip into the corner or on the brakes, despite there being tarmac underneath you. It's hard to explain. It didn't feel like gravel, it felt like you were on tarmac, but the braking ability felt like it was on gravel. Does that make sense? But then I drove the Hyundai, which had ABS, and it was much better. So there is the giant possibility that it was just a huge skill issue. Now, I didn't explore this part of the game so much, but I was also told by one of the developers when I was driving the 208 that it had different throttle maps and different power maps depending on what surface you're on, just like in real life. So you could change that on the fly in the MFD. You can go over, right, I want this different power map, and then suddenly in first, second, and I think third gear, you'd have less torque in the gravel map, so the car doesn't just spin the wheels trying to gain some sort of traction. And on tarmac, you turn that off and you have the full power. It's really cool, and you can adjust that on the fly. Let's talk about stages. So they're all laser scanned, which is very cool and does mean that the surface is as it is in real life. The thing that I think about when I hear laser scan stages, I think that's a lot of work for a single stage in the game. I may be misremembering the number here, but I think in total they're aiming for about 130 kilometers of stages in the game. And the first thing I thought is, oh no, that's not enough. We're going to see hot lapping. What I mean by hot lapping is that there are so few stages in a title that people just know them back to front, and it doesn't really become rally anymore, it just becomes memorization, which is worrying. That being said, the stages are lovely. They're really nice. Some of the best stages we've ever seen from any rally game ever. And you really feel that when you're driving through it. It feels like a realistic experience. The stages kind of feel, I don't know, for lack of a better term, they feel alive. Feel like they're actually there and you're actually driving through this real area, coupled with some little spectator areas, some reminders you're playing AC Rally, the billboards as you go by. And yeah, there's not really much more I can say about them apart from they're just really good and they look really good. Something interesting regarding stages that I asked about was in the replay of gravel stages especially, you can see the impression your car has left. And we did ask the question whether these stages would actually have that build up as a rally continues. So for example, if you're very low in the running order, you're going to have a stage that's been just thoroughly used by the time you get there, and it's going to be different from the person who took to the stage first. What I hear, that's going to be like simulated. I don't really know how. I do know it's not going to be the EA WRC, like a little bit worn, very worn, unusable 3 stages. It is going to be a bit more detailed than that. But beyond that, I'm not sure. And the game has different weather as well. I tried again driving some of the cars in different conditions. There was definitely less grip in wet conditions, which is good. Good start. You always want to make sure the game has that. But I did notice when driving some of the cars, the stages wet have these little puddles here and there, and driving through them, you don't feel the puddle. It's decorative at the moment. I did speak to, again, one of the developers there who said that that was a plan to make that a bit more of a 3D driving experience, if that makes sense, that these things do make a difference to how you drive. But it felt sort of weird in the demo there to be running over this huge puddle and just driving through it like it wasn't there. Once AC Rally was announced, a lot of the booths at the expo were allowed to have it on their setup. So I tried AC Rally on various different setups, and it felt fairly consistent throughout, though I'd say that the dedicated AC rig they had was definitely the best representation. In terms of force feedback in the game, I say it felt good enough. You know, I think in rallying, you don't really have that much feedback through the wheel. You have like a suggestion of where the car is going. The rest, kind of like karting, you feel it all like in your lower back and in your bum. That's where all the G-force is in a real car. Of course, we lack that in sim racing. So having a good, believable force feedback is the way to go. And I found that of the 3 or 4 rigs that I tried this on, the rigs with the lower force feedback, the ones that felt the best. Graphically, the game, it looks nice. I think it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. It's gone for that more realistic look, and again, that's just, for me, a part of the immersion of the experience of driving a game like this. Believing that you could be there and driving the car at that time on that stage. Now, I will say, however, I did try it on a few different machines, and on the few different machines, there wasn't always a smooth driving experience in terms of FPS. But all in all, first impressions are good. I would love to give you more information. I did ask the guys whether I could use the demo they used at Sim Expo here at home to give you a bit more content. They said nope. But I think early access to this title is just around the corner. Be careful with early access, right? Because we've seen AC Evo maybe not quite come up to expectation yet. Communication has got better, which is really nice to see. Unfortunately, nowadays, you have to view early access as you are paying to be essentially a beta tester for the title. And if you're comfortable with that, if you want to support the game and do that, then by all means go ahead. Keep in your mind that it's not going to be perfect. But of course, do not expect a fully finished game. But me personally, I am excited for it. I mean, I love a good rally game. Whilst this video isn't sponsored by anyone, I do want to say thank you to the guys at Assetto Corsa Rally for giving me their time. When I tried the game at their stand, they all came in, they all answered our questions, they all spoke to me about the game and what was planned and what they wanted to happen. They seemed like a bunch of guys who really wanted to make something special, which was genuinely really nice to see. I have some faith in these guys. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on AC Rally. As soon as I have a playable version, we'll do some gameplay, we'll talk about it properly. But I hope you enjoyed this anyway. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, do all the good stuff. And until next time, take care, have an awesome day.